Okay.
You deserve compliments.
Oh, I deserve compliments. That's 2 compliments already. Well, so I'm going to be able to gather with humility now. I don't know. Still working on it. Okay. So if you have the picture book, which I don't, but we're up to 43b, smack in the middle. So there's this thing they call the court of the esophagus. It's right on top of the esophagus. Sounds like some say it's what's it called? The pharynx? The pharynx? Pharynx. It sounds like I was doing a little reading on it. Esophagus. We know there's something called the base hashchita. It's the area where you could check. Above, below is called hagrama, and that's a not kosher shchita. So the question is, this area called what they call the court of the esophagus, is that a valid area to shecht or not? So Rav Amar b'mashehu, if that's even shechted, if that's punctured a little bit, it's going to be invalid. Simply understood, since it's part of the esophagus, even a small puncture will invalidate it. Ushmuel Amar birubo. No, the majority has to be punctured. Rav Amar b'mashehu makom shchituhu. Shmuel Amar birubo lav makom shchituhu. Rav said that is an area of the shechita. We view it as an extension of the esophagus. It's not above it. It's the end of it, so to speak. And Shmuel says no, it's not. And therefore, if the majority of it is punctured, so then okay, the animal is going to be a treifa. So then it'll be a problem. But a small puncture in the non-esophagus is fine. People know their stuff right here. I can't fake it anymore. Oh no. So anyway, so Shmuel says Barubo. So now that's this is 1 star. And the big one in the shoal is at my house. But there should be a big one on the bottom shelf. Like a gadol. Yeah. Shmuel, okay, so that's that. Now, Heinihu Turbet Saveshtu. How exactly are you invalidating this Turva Savesh, this pharynx? So Amar Mari Bar Marukva, Amar Shmuel, there's a little bit of debate about this. Kol shechodcho marchiv zuhi Turva Savesh. So as you're cutting, so it depends where you are. If you're at the esophagus, or let's see the picture for a second. Right? Yeah, right above it. So at some point that you're going to cut, Shmuel says it's going to expand. That part, when it expands, is called the Turva Savesht. Maybe get from the Kollel if you want. Oh, you have one. So 43b. So the Daf work around here. So Turva Savesht Chodcho v'Omed. So now, if you shecht it, so Kol shechodcho marchiv zehu Turva Savesht. When you cut it and it expands, so now you've hit this area, this court of the esophagus or this pharynx area. If it's chodcho v'omed b'mkomo zehu vesh atzmo. So if you just shecht it and it remains in its place, meaning it has not expanded, so that is the esophagus itself, which once again is going to make a big difference if you're Rav or if you're Shmuel. So if you're Rav, a small puncture in that area, since it's part of the esophagus, is going to be an invalidation. But according to Shmuel, it's not. So you have to know, when does it end, when does it start? It was before picture books. You have to really know. So plug for color too, no? Before color? Yeah. So okay. Really for printing. Okay. So Amar Lahura Papi. So now to this definition that Mar Bar Marukva said in the name of Shmuel, so Rav Papi is going to challenge. Amar Lu Rav Papi, Mar Lo Amar Hachi. So Umanu Rav Bibi Bar Abaye. So master didn't say this definition. Who's master? Rav Bibi, the son of Abaye. Ella Rather, the definition is like this: Kol shechotcho be'omeid b'mkomo. Anything that's cut in that area and it stays, it remains in its place, doesn't expand. That's the turvus avesh. That's really this court of the esophagus, this pharynx. Pharynx. The pharynx. Ella ezu avesh atzma kol shechotcho be'kavitz. The part where you check that it actually contracts, that's the esophagus. So he has a different definition of when it starts, when it stops, and when it stops. Now, Yona Amar Abzera, so simply understood, it's a name, but it sounds like I saw in the footnote that they bring down that it's a case of a dove. But simply understood, it's a name. Yona Amar Abzera mi mivalasa. So it's an area that place that it swallows. That's the place that's called the turbits. So it's actually closer to the. You have a picture over there? No. Okay. So now I think it's higher up. No. I think it's higher up. Rashi says it's a place where it swallows. It's called the turbits. What's the Rosh HaNekev? Don't know.
No, I mean the top.
The top. So where how's that different than what we've been saying? It's higher up. Don't know. Okay. So now how it sounds like it's at the. To me, maybe it seems like it's a little bit lower down. It's closer to the hole at the end of the esophagus. So it's right above that. Now, how much is that? The kama amar of avia pakos mi sa'artav adiv michitasa. It's more than a grain of. It's less than a grain of barley and more than a grain of wheat. So a very small area. Okay. So those are at least three definitions of this cord of the esophagus, this pharynx, which once again is a debate. Is that part of the place of the shechita, and therefore a small little puncture will invalidate it? Or is it a violation of hagrama? Is it outside that area? And therefore, according to Shmuel, majority of it, if it's punctured, will be invalid. Okay. Hahu tur the libnei Rav ukva the aschal beishchita betorvitz havesh v'gamar bevesh. So what happened? There was a case where somebody started the shchita above, by this higher up area called the turvitz, this cord of the esophagus above, and then he went down, and he ended up shechting through the esophagus. So they want to know what's the halacha. So Amar Rava, Ramina aleh chumid Rav v'chumid Shmuel. So we're going to see now Rava Paskin, he ruled like the stringency of both Rav and Shmuel. And he prohibited it. V'tarfin aleh. So what are the stringencies of Rav and the stringencies of Shmuel? Kormi the Rav, the Amar Rav, b'mashu. The Amar Rav, makom shchitahu. So Rav said if it's punctured a little bit, since it's the makom shchita, it's the place where we shech, so therefore it's going to be invalid. So that's one stringency, that even a small little puncture is going to be invalid. Shmuel, the Amar, Lav makom shchitahu. Shmuel said it's not considered the area of the shchita. It's not considered the area of the shchita. So he's going to say that it's if you went like Shmuel that it's not the area of the shchita, you have to puncture the majority of it. If you go like Rav that it is the area of the shchita, so even the smallest amount will be a puncture. So he goes like both. It's not the area of the shchita, and a small puncture invalidates. So that's called taking on the chumras of both, the stringency of both. So, Shmuel, if it's Shmuel Hamar Barubo, you have to do majority. And if it's Kirav, if it's like Rav Rabbi Mashu. So therefore, he combined the two together and said it was shechted a little bit, and that's enough to invalidate, not in the place of the shechita. Now, we're going to ask on him, the problem is, how do you do that? Your combination is a contradiction. Because if it's a little bit, so then it's the place of the shechita, then it's fine. And if it's not the place of the shechita, so you need the majority. So when you take from two people, but it ends up being a contradiction, so that he's going to be attacked for in a second. But that was his ruling. Now, what happened? Igal Gil Milsa mitar the kamid Reb Abba. So this matter ended up literally rolling over, but it ended up arriving at Reb Abba's desk at his office. And Amar Lahu, he said, so to Rabbein and Shmuel Shari. He said, this ox, according to Rav and Shmuel, is going to be permitted. So now he said, go tell Zilu Amrile Lebreder of Yosef Bar Chama Dilishalim Demetura Lemare. Go tell the son of Rav Yosef Bar Chama, which is Rava, that he owes the owner money. Meaning he made an erroneous ruling, he made a mistake, and now he's got to pay for it. Now, there's at least in the beginning of Sanhedrin, different kinds of mistakes that a Rav could make, someone who's answering a question. So one of them, he just, his logic was off. So Tal B'Shikol Hadas, and one is Tov B'Dvar Mishnah. Tov B'Dvar Mishnah means you erroneously ruled about something which is explicit. If you mess that up, so then you have to pay, but there's a caveat. Rashi had to caveat that it's only if he then actually took this animal that was a treifa and gave it to the dogs. If he never actively went and ruined it, so then being Tov B'Dvar Mishnah, making a mistake on an explicit ruling, he would not be liable. Okay, maybe he did the wrong thing, maybe he feels bad, whatever it is, but he's not liable to pay. But he has to actually go and actively give it to the dogs. So if in this case that he's saying he has to pay, it has to be a case where he actually went and fed this treifa, which he ruled it's a treifa based on an erroneous ruling, seemingly, that he took on two stringencies. So we'll see in a second why is that an explicit ruling why is that called the Dvar Mishnah? But since if he did that and he fed it to the dogs, so then and only then is he going to have to be liable to pay. So that's what he said. You made a mistake on an explicit halacha, and therefore you have to pay. Okay. Now, Amar Mar Braid Ravina. So Mar Braid Ravina said, Mosfina tiyufta klape sane de Rava. Now we're going to ask a question to the haters of Rava. Now, it's just a nice way of saying Rava himself, but we don't want to be so mean to him because we're using a euphemism, because we're going to say now that it's very explicit, seemingly, that what he did was wrong. So instead of saying we're asking on Rava, we're saying we're asking on the haters of Rava out of respect for Rava. So from the following case, La'olam Hilchas Sakid Beis Hillel. So this is a brisa. It's not a Mishnah. So La'olam Hilchas Sakid Beis Hillel. V'harotz Latzis Sakid Beis Shammai. Osa Sakid Beis Hillel. Osa. So usually the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Now, if you want to do like Beis Shammai, you could do like Beis Shammai. You want to do Beis Hillel, do like Beis Hillel. Okay. However, Osa, sorry. Osa, Osa. Okay. Mikule Beis Shammai, umikule Beis Hillel. If you're taking from the leniency of both, so then we say Russia. Next page, Mechumer Beis Shammai, Mechumer Beis Hillel. If you take from the stringency of both, a fool walks in the darkness, because you're taking things with opposite logic, and you're not going to the logic of it. You're just going to the final halacha, but it ends up being a contradiction, right? Imagine nowadays, someone wants to be stringent like Rav Yosef and like Rav Yashua. He comes from a Sephardi world where it's a very different logic. He's coming from a different place. They take both, so you just call the fool. So we're asking on Rava, seemingly what you ruled is the fulfillment of the verse that a fool walks in the darkness. So, Ella ikebe Shammai kikulein uke chumrein, ikebe sil kikulein uke chumrein. So either you take the kula and the chumrah of Beis Shammai, or the kula and chumrah of Beis Hillel, but you don't put them together. So now the Gemara just asks a technicality for a second. How gufa kasha? This what you just quoted to me itself is contradictory. Why? Because first you told me halakha like Beis Hillel, then you said do either one. So that's a contradiction. Amrit lalam halakha kedir Beis Hillel, v'hader tani v'hader tzlatzos kedir Beis Shammai yazel. Halakha is like Beis Hillel, but you can do like Beis Shammai. What does that mean? If halakha is like Beis Hillel, then you can't do like Beis Shammai. So in fact, I think there's a Mishnah in Brachos that says, Beis Shammai in the place of Beis Hillel is a zero. I mean, you don't even gain from being stringent. I think maybe in the beginning, when you're leaning by Kriya Shema, I don't remember. But usually when we hold like Beis Hillel, you don't do like Beis Shammai. So what does that mean? It says the Gemara lo kasha. Kan kodem baskol, kan la'achar baskol. So the first answer is that this that we allow you to do like Beis Shammai, even though the halakha is like Beis Hillel, was before the heavenly voice came out and said, Halakha is like Beis Hillel. But once it came out and said it's like Beis Hillel, then we follow Beis Hillel. That's one answer. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, that's the next line. Very good. That's the calendar on the airplane, right? Because okay. Yeah, bad joke. Yeah. People laugh, so I guess it worked. So another answer is Afal Akar Baskol. Even after the Baskol came out and said halakha like Beis Hillel, you could still go like Beis Shammai. And that's like the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. Now, Rabbi Yeshua was the one when they had a big debate with Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim about the status of an oven that was impure. And they said, if you're right, let the heavens come out, let the seas come out, let the mountains come out. And at the end of the day, the Basel came out and said, no, lo b'shamayim. So there, Rabbi Yeshua said, the Amr ein mashichin b'Baskel. You don't listen to the Baskel. So now this Tosfos over here tries to make a little bit of an order. When do you not listen to a Baskel? So usually we don't listen to a Baskel, but here they point out that Beis Hillel is the majority. So meaning the halakha is like Beis Hillel, not like Beis Shammai. So even if you don't listen to a Baskel, we still go like Beis Hillel because Beis Hillel is the majority. We weren't sure who to rule like, Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai originally. Well, Beis Shammai was sharper. Beis Shammai was what seems to be sharper. Beis Hillel is the majority. We rule like the majority. But yeah. So okay. So that is Rabbi Yeshua. So two reasons why you would be able to go like Beis Shammai and not like Beis Hillel. But I'm 95% sure that there's a Mishnah either in Brachos or in Beitza that contradicts this. The Brachos, right? Now what? They say you chayav misa. Yeah, but I always had a contradiction because it says one Mishnah in Brachos says somewhere it says Beis Shammai in the place of Beis Hillel is 0, and there's a Mishnah in Beitza that says that in 3 cases Rabban Gamliel was machmer like Beis Shammai. So I don't know. Yeah. So I think the answer was I don't know. Yeah. So either way, so that's that. Fine. Mikol Makom Kasha. At the end of the day, the Rava who went like 2 stringencies seems to fly in the face of this brisa, and that's a contradiction. So Amar Rav Tavus. So Amar Rav Tavus Kula Kirav Avda. So really, it's not a problem because we're going to see what Rav really held. It's really totally according to the laws of Rav. We said it's not. Well, the also Rami Bar Yechaskel Amar Lo Tatzita Lahu Lahani Kali the Kal Yehuda Achi Mishmei the Rav. So right, you can imagine classic Jewish story. It's a newspaper. One person came and said over all the rulings from Rav, and then he left. And then his brother comes and says, that Yehuda, my brother, don't listen to one word he said in the name of Rav. I'll tell you what Rav really holds. So according to this opinion of Rav, we're going to show you that it's not a contradiction, and that would help us a lot with not calling Rava a fool. So who walks in darkness. So Hachi Amarav Vesht. So now the esophagus Nasnu B'Chachamim Shir. They gave it a certain measurement of where it goes to. Michlal, the Torah Vesht, Lav Makom Shchidahu. The Vesht, the esophagus, that's the place of the Shchita. However, the Torah Vesht, the place above it, whatever it's called, the cord of the esophagus or the pharynx, that area is not the place of the Shchita. The Ka'amar B'Mashu, and therefore, any little puncture in that area is going to be a problem. So we see here that Rav holds that in the place that's not the place of the Shchita, even a small puncture is considered a problem. So that fits very well with what Rava said. He said if you start shechting from that top area, even the smallest puncture, even though it's not the base of Shchita, it's not the area where you do Shchita, it's the area where we would call Hagrama. In that area, that's going to be an invalidation. So really, Rava was saying fully like the opinion of Rav, and he was not taking on to stringencies. So ad kama. So yeah. So now, exactly how high up do we go? How high up do we go? That what the esophagus ends, or how high up is the pharynx? I think how high up does the esophagus go? I think. Maybe it's two opinions. I don't know. Yeah, I think how high up is Pashup shot sounds like how high up is the Makom Shchita, but maybe some say it goes back on the pharynx. I don't know. So, but Amar of not what? The place of the Shchita? Yeah. We're not going back to the okay. Amar of Nachman Ad Kedei. You know all the halachas of Shchita, so I've never seen anything. So Amar of Nachman Ad Kedei Tvisas Yad, until your hand can grasp, which Rashi says is 3 or 4 fingers worth. So that's the part that's the head at the top of the esophagus. Lemata ad kama, how far down does it go? Rav Nachman Rabba Barbua ad kadesh yisayir, until it starts getting hairy. Once it starts getting hairy, that's already Rashi says is the mikaris apanimi. It's the inner caris, the fancy word of the what? What do we call it? Abermason. There you go. Yeah, South African pronunciation. Yeah. So okay. Ini, is that really so? It's until it gets hairy, until the karas apanimi. So Ini Amar Ravina Amar Geniva Mishmei Derav. So Ravina said name of Geniva, name of Rav, Tefach Bevesh Samuch Lekaris. The tefach between the esophagus that's nearest to the karas, to the abermesum. So zeu karas apanimi, that tefach that's closest to the karas is called the inner karas. It's called the abermesum. So says the Amai kashachet bekaras kashachet. It's like that area. If you're shechting over there, so that's you're actually shechting the karas. You're actually shechting the abermesum. So ema tefach bekaras samach levesht. It's actually a tefach of the tefach bekaras samach levesht. Zeu karas apanimi. That actual tefach that's close to the esophagus, that's going to be the inner abermesum. Is there abermesum? The inner abermesum? The inner paunch? Like raining, like a poncho? Okay, I don't know. Yeah, the inner paunch. Okay. What's the paunch? A belly. Oh, it's why they just say belly. Okay. So an inner belly. Okay. So karas is the belly. This is the inner belly. Yeah. The who? You don't write this. That's right. And obviously, I for sure didn't write this. So that you knew already. So Iba is Ema. Another answer. Iba is Ema. Kikama Rav Tura de Messiah Tvei. That Rav is talking about this ox that he said that a tefach of the esophagus is called the karas. That's specifically a case that was it's very hairy, and therefore the hair actually extended into the esophagus, a tefach, but that area is still considered the makam shchita until the actual hairy area. Okay. Amar of Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Turbat Tavesh. So back to the pharynx, the court of the esophagus. Turbat Tavesh. Why is it called the court of the esophagus? If Ponce is belly, what's court? Court is where things start. When you go to court, that's when it ends. It's all over. A big room. Okay, fine. This rather in English, yeah. So Amar of Nachman, Amar Shmuel, Turbat Tavesh, Shinto Kulo. So Melechi Kasher. Here's a picture. The picture is good for I forgot my picture book. So the Turbat Tavesh, Shinto Kulo, Melechi Kasher. When a lot of it is removed from the lechi. How do I translate lechi? From the cheek. Right. It's right under it. So when it's removed, thank you, from the cheek, so then it's going to be kosher. V'tana tuna, we taught this already. Nita lechi atakton kosher. That when you remove the lower cheek. So this is right. This is under the cheek, the esophagus. So that lower area, if you remove that, it's going to be kosher. On that removing this turvus havesh, this court of the esophagus from the cheek is going to be kosher. Masculine papa va'ika ikar simanim. What do you mean? We know that if you uproot this, when you uproot this, so you uproot also not both simanim, right? Both simanim. No, the esophagus. So when you do that, you're uprooting the esophagus. So va'ika ikar simanim, and that is a problem. So this that Rav Nachman in the name of Shmuel is good. that the Bryce says is good too. So Rav Papa asks, it's not good. But 1 second. If Rav Papa says it's not good, so it doesn't only mean he's against Shmuel, it also means he's against the Brysa, which came before him, and that he can't argue with. So Rav Papa Kasha Masnitzin, he argues in the Mishnah. Yeah. Nita Lechia Tachton Kasher. It says if the bottom part of the cheek is removed, it's still good. That's against Rav Papa. So now, Bishma Masnisin Rav Papa Lo Kasha Had Ikure Had Igum Igume. I didn't fully understand this difference. So one is where it's fully uprooted, and in that case we're going to say is going to be a problem. That's a problem. Ikur simanim. It sounds like igum igume is you remove it, but it's still somewhat attached. Yeah, and it's not in a funny way. It's like. No, but what's the igume? It's like covered with the. It's part that's covered over with the. Yeah. That's not called ikar. Shasimanim muurim bebasar. Because there's still somewhat covered over from the meat. It's not fully removed. It's like assuming it's not fully removed. It's still somewhat covered over by the. Okay. Yeah. Fine. That is that. Ela l'shmuel kasha. But okay, that's that. But according to Shmuel, it's still a kasha. So say Shmuel said lo tema kula el ema rubo. It doesn't mean the whole thing was removed. Rather, that means most of it. But as long as some of it is still attached, so you are good to go. The ha'amar, the I, the ha'amar, Rabbi Baruchana, Amar Shmuel simanim shenidaldalu beruban treifa. We have simanim that end up getting detached. If the majority of them get detached, it's a treifa. So how can you tell me that it's good? Amar Rav Shisha, Breder Rav Idi, had ikful ikfule, and hasam de ifrik ifruke. So when something is here means to fold over, means that it's peeled off the basar. So it's that's going to be kosher. It's less of a detachment. So but the fruke is like that's bekoach. That's a strong detachment. Who cares how it's attached? Still leave some over. But not fully removed. So it's not mean it's not fully removed. If it'll be fully removed, it doesn't matter how it gets removed. Yeah, right. So if it's gently taken off, it's another way of saying that some of it is still attached. If it's yanked off, so then it's going to be removed. Okay, fine. Next part of the Mishnah. So Pesokas Hagargeres. So the trachea. The trachea. So Tana Kama Pesukas Hageres. How much does a trachea have to be severed? Thank you. So we say Beruba. So now the Kamaruba. How much is majority? How much is majority? So here you got to have the. I got lost. They went on and on and on. But basically, it sounds like there's an outer layer and there's an inner layer. So obviously, the leniencies that you require, even the hollow part inside to be torn through, that requires more of a tear for it to be invalid. So one explanation is Rav Amar Rov Uvia, going to be the majority of the uvia of the outer layer. The Amrila Rov Chalala, that's going to be the hollow part, meaning past the outer layer you get to the inside. So yeah. So okay, so Rov Chalala. So Hahi Psukas Hagageres, that's certainly coming to Rav. So there was one of these cases where there was part of the trachea that was severed, and it came in front of Rav. That's coming to Rav. Yosef the Kabadikla, he was looking at it, sitting and inspecting it. The Kabadikla Barov Uvia, and he inspected the outer layer. So now sounds like and therefore sounds like it would be a treifa. Now Amru Lei Rav Kahana Rav Asi Rav Kahana and Rav Asi were there, and they asked Rav the Manatanu Rabbeinu Birov Chalala. So yeah, so it sounds like they were saying that Rav taught us that until the majority of the hollow is severed, it's not going to be a treifa. So it's a leniency. If only the outer layer, but not, let's call it the inner layer or the hollow part, if that part's not severed, so then it's not going to be a treifa. If it is severed, it will be a treifa. So that was sent, Shadra Lekamet de Rabbi Barchana. Now, they sent it to Rabbi Barchana. Badka Barov Chalala Ve'achshara. So he checked it. He checked it with, and he saw that it was Badka Barov Chalala Ve'achshara. And he said it was good, meaning that it was not severed all the way through the hollow area, and therefore it was not going to be a treifa. And not only did he say it's good, v'zaven mina b'tleisar itzrei, pshitei pisra. He actually bought it with 13 isarim of meat, meaning he paid 13 coins for it, and he got himself a piece of this meat that he just said was kosher. He got meat from it. The problem is that when you take money after a ruling, it looks a little fishy. Doesn't look so good. So, sorry, before that, that's coming up next. But the question was, if Rav says that it's not good, so then how could they send the question to someone else and say that it is good? Once you get a ruling from a rabbi, you can't go, and it's stringent, and you really want to get a leniency, you can't go bring it to another rabbi and get a leniency. Once the Rav said it was impure, meaning it was not kosher. So Rav held it was really not kosher, and sounds like they sent it over, and the other Rav said that it was good, it was kosher. So how could they do that? So ein chaver shalahatir, you can't go and permit it. So we say shiny hachet the Rav lo aser mesar. So Rav never said it's prohibited. Rav was just looking into it. He never said a definitive ruling. So if the Rav said, if he was just talking about it, I know people that have done this for other areas in halakha. They didn't ask the rabbi, "Is it mutter?" Also, they said like, in your opinion, is it in your opinion, not tell me is it mutter asur, but in your opinion, what would you say about this? So he's not telling you it's mutter asur. You want to know what his opinion is. So here, Rav was saying his opinion that he thought it was not good, but he never passed him definitively. He never answered definitively that it's no good. So therefore, it's not a problem. But now the problem is, how did the other Rav Barchana, go buy meat? Go buy this meat, and so we're not taking money for it yet. That's later. Sorry. So we're asking a different question now. We had earlier that pious people will not eat from meat that is questionable. So if something is a question, you go to a rabbi and he answers that it's mutter, it's permissible. So it's a pious thing to do to not eat that meat, as we learn from Yechezkel. What if a rabbi had to go and answer the question? So how could you eat from it? How could Rabbi Barchana eat from it? Maybe a regular person, that's fine, but someone of his stature should not eat from this. How do I know? The Haksiv, it says in Yechezkel, the Omer Tashem Elokim Hine Nafshi Lo Metuma, right? My soul never got impure of an available treifa. I never ate an available treifa, and we already asked earlier in Chulin. Obviously, he didn't eat that. What's it referring to? And we'll see the answer. Lo Achalti Menuurai Bad Ata Veloba Befi Basar Pigel. I never placed in my mouth meat of pigel. So hine nafshi. So what does it mean? Hine nafshi lo metuma. So it doesn't mean he impurified himself. He was a kohen. Obviously not. That's prohibited. So all these cases are things that are not prohibited, but are pious things to do. So hine nafshi lo metuma shalo here harti biyom level lili tuma balayla, which is the one that's interesting. Tosis asked earlier. That's already usher. You can't do things in the daytime to have your hurim by nighttime to figure out what exactly. So some say it was just ba'ones. He never got to a place of ones where he's going to mahar here. Either way, he never did something that got him impure thoughts at nighttime. I didn't eat an available treifa means shelo achalti basar kos me'olam. Wait, he never chewed on. Like what? No, before that on raw meat, right? I don't remember. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what was brought up over there by a misukenes. He never ate meat from a misukenes. But that was the whole debate. What it is, so he stayed away. Okay, veloba b'fi basar pigel. What does it mean that I never put in my mouth pigel? Of course he didn't. It's prohibited. What it means is shelo achalti mibehema shahor b'chacham. So and mishum Rabbi Nasan amru shelo achalti mibehema shelo hurma matnoseha. Either one opinion is I never put in my mouth something which was questionable that a rabbi had to answer the question, and number two is Rabbi Nasan says I never took from an animal that its priestly gifts were not given to the Kohanim. So how could Rabbi Bar Chana go and eat from this meat? So Hani Mili Milsa the Talia Besvara. So but Rabbi Bar Chana Agamrei Samach. So it depends. If it's based on logic, it's the rabbi's logic. Okay, so it's up to him. So such a meat he wouldn't eat. But this, the Rabbi Bar Chana answered, this he has a tradition. Up to this point, it's going to be invalid if it's through the hollow area. If it's just through the outer layer, then it's not going to be invalid. Okay. Now we say v'tepa clay mishum chashon. Now we say that 1 second. He just ruled on something, and now he 1 second. Sorry, he sold the meat. Yeah, he sold the meat. He bought the meat. What's the problem? Right, that's what's the problem? Okay, we'll see. Problem is getting money, not giving money. Okay, let's see. Oh, I'm confused. Okay. If a judge rules a case, so Zika v'chayev, whether it's a case of innocent and guilty, either and or time v'tiher, he either impurifies or purifies, or it means really both. It's a case of tumah v'tara, or aser v'hitir, or it's permitted or prohibited. V'chein ha'edim she'idu kulan rishayin likach. They can all go and buy the meat. Good, thank you. Aval amru chachamim harchik min hakiyur. But to go buy the meat that you were just either ruled on or you testified about, amru chachamim harchik min hakiyur umin adomelo. Better to stay away from things that are, it doesn't look good. Now, one sec, Rashi explains why doesn't it look good. It doesn't look good because, meaning, let's take the case where he said it's pure. Obviously, the case I said it's not kosher. That's not what we're talking about. But the case where he said it's kosher, it looks a little funny. Maybe the guy is just very, very, very. He needs a lot of meat. Shavuos is coming. He needs to buy some meat. So all of a sudden he rules it's permitted and gives $20 and takes the meat. So that looks very fishy. So it's not prohibited to do that. Obviously he ruled correctly, but it's a hakik min akir. It's a staying away from things that are, kir, that are filthy. It's not good. Stay away from these things. It doesn't look good. It's a chashad. It makes you look suspicious. So don't do things that make you look suspicious. So now, how could he then buy the meat? So hanimili needed the mezavin b'shuma, but hacha miskla muchach. So it depends. When is it? Depends on evaluations. So then it's going to look fishy. But when it's a certain, it's a weight. So this meat is the regular weight for everybody. It's just how much it weighs. Whatever, it's 2 pounds of meat. It's not we're evaluating how much it costs. So that's how much the meat weighs. So it sounds like everybody buys it at that weight. How does it solve the suspicion part? Maybe he just paskin mutter because he wants that meat. I know, but maybe it should be really prohibited, but he said it was permitted. People are going to see him and think that he just said it's permitted, so he could buy some. So I mean, it's sorry. So it's not. We thought originally that anytime you buy something that you just permitted, it's suspicious. The answer is when it's up to evaluation, it's more subjective. Then it's suspicious. But just buying something at standard price, even though you just permitted it, that's not a violation of looking suspicious. Just like Rabbi was shara trafta, he allowed this a case of a treifa, meaning it wasn't a treifa, he permitted it. And he wanted to go buy meat. And Amrulei Basra Chista. So the daughter of, they changed it to Rava. Yeah, it was Rava. The Rava shara tarfa. Rava was a nephew of Rav Chista. So Amrulei Basra Chista Abba Shari Bukhra. Below Zavim Minei Bisra. So my father, he would permit it, and he wouldn't buy. So Amar La, so he told her, Hani Mili Brucha Dashuma Mizdavin, but Hacha Miskla Muchach. That's when it's up to evaluation. The Bechor. My father would allow a Bechor. A Bechor, once it gets a blemish, but then you could sell it. So what's a blemish? So Gemara says Rav spent in Sanhedrin 18 months in the field learning what the mumim of a Bechor. Interesting. And then he got smicha from his uncle. So So what do you call it? So he permitted it, and he didn't buy. So he said, yeah, it depends if it was subjective based off evaluation, or if it was more objective. So that's fine. So yeah, Ms. David, but Hacham is Muchach. So Ma'ika Mishum Mal Yasa. I'm buying the best piece of steak every day out of because of who I am. Kol Yoma Mal Yasa Zavnuli. They always sell me the best piece of steak. 56. Let's do a little more. Yeah, Jules not here, so it's okay. So Amar Rav Chisda Ezu Talmud Chacham Zaro Trefel Atzmo. So the person who sees and then permits the treifa and the treifa on his own, doesn't just he goes through it himself and permits it. So sorry, the other way. That's later on. Zero v'tarfel atzmo. It's when he doesn't have mercy on it. Rashi says, and he could forbid it, and it's fine. So it's going to come at a loss to somebody, but you could stay strong. So V'amar Rav Chisda Ezu, and Rav Chisda says who's a Talmud Chacham. So sorry, who's a Ezu Sonim Matanot Yechia Zero v'tarfel atzmo. Who's the one who hates the one who hates presence is the one who lives. He's not relying on others. Is the one who someone brings him an animal and he could say it's prohibited, even though what? Oh, even his own animal. Yeah, he doesn't feel bad for his own animal. So yeah. Okay, let's stop here. Got some extra help. That was so good. Thank you.
It's better when I'm on Zoom, huh?
No, it's not better when you're on Zoom. We're going to put you a point early.
Okay, bye-bye.
Jules, enjoy.